All right, joining us today on our Advanced Moving and Storage Opponent Preview, we got the play-by-play voice of the Liberty Flames, Alan York, joining us. Alan, thank you for your time. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Clip. Dodging a couple of raindrops, but other than that, we're ready to go.
Same here. It has been a wet one this week, and Pirates able to get in practice here as we record this on a Tuesday. We talked to the players after today's practice, and the theme was kind of bouncing back after a loss. That is something Liberty has not had to do in a long time when it comes to a regular season loss. So, how about the streak going for the Flames right now? Is that talked about? You try to go 1 week at a time and all that, but man, when you've had the success Liberty's had, how much does that come up when you talk to the coaches and players?
It doesn't really, unless you're in the game notes. Liberty, as you mentioned, 15 straight regular season wins, 10 straight at home. But they really don't talk about it. And if it got brought up, it would probably be diffused pretty quick. They pretty much play to play. And, a lot of these interviews and stuff the coaches do, they don't want to say too much to get them out of rhythm. And that's just for the media to talk about. But we got it on our game notes, and we definitely mentioned it during the broadcast leading up to kickoff. But once kickoff happens, you don't really touch on it much. But Jamie Chadwell's been great for this university since taking over before last season. And we can get to all the nuts and bolts about what he's all about, as far as being a good fit here at the school. But he's a great coach, first and foremost.
Alan, let's talk about this season 3-0. I watched Liberty play at New Mexico State, and I thought that winning streak was going to come to an end. That was a struggle for a while, but a team that knows how to win got it done late. So, how about the 3-0 start, and how about facing a little adversity there and having to come back to win a road game?
Yeah, better late than never, Clip. Liberty opened up with Campbell, which is not far from your campus there. But week two, it was a rematch of last year's Conference USA Championship, which Liberty won over New Mexico State in Lynchburg. And it was the game that New Mexico State probably had circled on their schedule. It was going to be their first conference game and type of game where they could get revenge from last year. And they played really good football for the first three quarters. They led 24-15 into the fourth quarter. And what really turned things around, Clip, was a fumble by New Mexico State, which Liberty scooped and scored to get them back in the game. And then they had back-to-back stops and got a couple of nice touchdown runs from Quentin Cooley to take the lead with a minute left. And kind of escaped there with a win. Then last week, played really good defense against a UTEP team that is under a new coaching staff. And so this will be the first game for Liberty facing a staff that has been at the previous school before, or meaning, Mike Houston's been at East Carolina for a few years.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how, Jamie Chadwell and Coach Houston kind of match up with each other because they do have a history on the gridiron together.
Well, I said this earlier today to ECU tight end Casey Kelly that we focus so much on Liberty's offense that if you win all these games in a row, you got to play pretty good defense too. So I'm going to surprise some people and start with the defense instead of the offense today. Alan, holding UTEP to 10 points last week. What makes the defense go? What can Pirate fans expect to see out of this Liberty defense Saturday?
Well, it's basically out of a four-man front. They'll blitz a little bit to kind of just shake off the rhythm of the quarterback. And they got good team speed, really good depth. And I think going into the season, and we'll talk about our quarterback, Caden Salter, in a minute. But this coaching staff really thought the defense could be really good and maybe better than last year. Last year's defense, Liberty led the country with 21 interceptions. They had 25 takeaways. But this year, depth-wise, I think is better, and that's been tested a little bit through the first couple of games with some injuries, but they're starting to get some guys back in the secondary, which is going to help them. And like you mentioned last week, played really good against UTEP, holding them to for Liberty, 91 yards rushing. And so they've got a good thing going defensively for sure.
Alan, we did an opponent preview with you during the summer and talked about your talented quarterback Salter, and I believe he was in the transfer portal for like 2 hours and came back, something like that. Came back out. That was huge for Liberty fans, I know, to get him for another year. So, how about your QB there, and what else is it really pops about this Liberty offense?
Yeah, offensively, it's a mix of some option, run pass option. They do a little bit of everything. Caden will even do a 7-step drop back in the pocket. So they try to keep the defense thinking a little bit. But Caden's been Mr. Consistent. Numbers wise, he hasn't wowed anybody this year, but yet you're still 3-0. You can make some argument that playing East Carolina and then Appalachian State next week, have they opened up the entire playbook? I don't know. But at the same time, he hasn't thrown any interceptions. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns. So I think there's a little bit to be desired offensively for this team. But he's undoubtedly the leader. And if a play breaks down, he can obviously escape the pocket with his feet and run a lot. And the only question is, leading up to this game, is Quentin Cooley, who ran for 1,000 yards last year. He was banged up a little bit in UTEP, and he is day-to-day. We met with the media today. Coach Chadwell did. And so if he can't go, they're pretty happy with the depth they've got in the running back room, but he's the bell cow, no doubt. And the Flames really lean on Quentin Cooley.
One thing about Salter, again, watching that New Mexico State game, it's the fourth quarter, Liberty's losing, and he's like got a smile on his face, and he seems so unbothered. And I'm like, does this guy even care? Well, yeah, he does. He's just cool. He knows he's going to win. They know he is confident in his team. So you got to like that, Alan. It seems like the type of guy that, I don't know, doesn't get too flustered out there.
Nah, yeah, he's even keel. You wouldn't know he's excited by looking at him, and you wouldn't know he's upset.
Yeah.
He just has a mild manner to him. But he's as competitive as anybody on that team. Your coaches and players will tell you that. But he just has his boots on the ground and doesn't let the moment get too big for him.
How about special teams, Alan? East Carolina's had, some good and some bad. Bad, a couple of missed extra points in back-to-back games now, and a missed field goal on Saturday that cost them against Appalachian State. But the return games look pretty good. Luke Larson's had his best year punting. So if this is a close game, Alan, special teams could be a factor. How about the kicking game, return game for the Flames so far?
Yeah, Clip, special teams is always important. And for us right now, Liberty is they're using a transfer kicker out of North Greenville, South Carolina. And his name is Colin Carhew, grew up just south of Charlotte. And he's 5-7 so far with a long of 39. If the Flames need a little bit longer of a field goal, Nick Brown, who was the incumbent a year ago, he's got a long of 49. So if it's a little bit longer than that, that'll be Nick Brown's territory. Max Morgan's been pretty solid at punter, averaging about 42 yards per punt. Really don't know much about the return game, but they do have some guys back there. Brylan Green, who's a defensive back, he returns punts for the Flames. He did have a 45-yard punt return against Campbell in week 1. And Corey Jones, Kylan Austin, veterans of this football team, but new to returning. As of last week, Kylan Austin led Conference USA, averaging about 20 yards per return, but they haven't popped one yet. So we're looking forward to that when that time comes.
Alan, East Carolina went to Norfolk, Virginia a couple weeks ago and knocked off Old Dominion, and a great Pirate crowd was on hand to see that. I've heard and talked to a lot of folks that are excited to head to Lynchburg for this game. What kind of crowd are you anticipating for the 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday?
Well, the stadium seats 25,000, and again, to educate your fans down that way, Liberty moved to FBS in 2018. So 7 short, or I guess do my math right, 6 short seasons ago. And they renovated the stadium a little bit. So the capacity is up to 25,000. Had over 21,000 for homecoming last week against UTEP. And as of the time we tape this, my office is right next to the ticket office. What we're saying right now is limited tickets available. A week ago during our radio show, it was less than 400. So that was
Wow.
7 days ago.
Yeah.
So it's close to being a sellout, which would be, I think, really cool because obviously you guys at Dowdy Ficklin are used to having big crowds and tailgating, and our tailgating scene here is great. It's family weekend. And also, it's a weekend. They do this a couple of times during the year called CFAW. It's an acronym for College for a Weekend, where prospective high school students can come on campus and spend the night in the dorms and see what it's like to go to school at Liberty. And that draws in a bigger crowd as well, especially if you have home athletics events. So I would expect a sellout. Haven't announced it yet, but I would think any day now that an announcement should be coming.
Alan York joining us, play-by-play voice of the Liberty Flames. Alan, one thing that got me so excited about this college football season is the expanded playoff and the inclusion of a Sun Belt, a Conference USA, an American, Mountain West, MAC champion, whoever the highest-ranked team is, going to the playoff. Liberty had that magical season last year. If that happens this year, they could be that team representing the group of five. So, is that kind of in the background a little bit, or is that something that comes up quite a bit when you're talking Liberty football this season?
With the fans, it does. Jamie Chadwell got this job in December of, I guess it was 22, when Hugh Freeze left to go to Auburn. And during his press conference, he mentioned, at the end of the day, that's the goal, is to make the CFP. And now with it being expanded, and what Liberty did last year, obviously a little bit more eyeballs will be on what the Flames are doing. And each week that you keep winning, as Liberty has done, you get more attention. And this school's used to attention. And what happened with this team last year going to the Fiesta Bowl should not deter them from focusing on the goal at hand. But yeah, I'm sure they talk about it, not so much in the press conferences and things like that. But I'm sure the players are looking to see who's doing what, especially from the group of five perspective.
Alan York joining us. Alan, I am a Pitt County native my entire life. My parents live about 8 minutes down the road. My elementary school is about 9 minutes down the road. You yourself, a North Carolina native. I remember we talked about that during the summer.
Yeah.
Remind us again, where are you from?
Yeah, Mount Airy, North Carolina, just on the state line near Virginia, just south of Cana, Virginia, which is where Frank Beamer, former Virginia Tech head coach, was raised. And Surrey County, Mayberry, Andy Griffith Show, that all tourist attraction stuff where Andy Griffith was born and raised is where I'm from. So, grew up 30 minutes north of Winston-Salem. So spent many days going to Wake Forest games on fall Saturdays. And when I got into broadcasting, actually helped Jeff Charles, God rest his soul, a few times during basketball, football overlap, would fill in some basketball games for him and have done some baseball stuff for East Carolina. So I have followed the Pirates from afar for a long, long time, and look forward to matching up with them on the gridiron coming up on Saturday.
No doubt. If we were in our other studio, Alan, you would see we have our Jeff Charles The Voice T-shirt framed, and also a Jeff Charles bobblehead on our table that we broadcast from every day. We miss the voice and think about him a lot, certainly. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great call this Saturday, and we will reconvene again when these two teams meet down the road. But thank you so much for joining us.
All right, look forward to it. Thank you.